Hello, and thank you for joining. We are so excited to be kicking off our fourth and final webinar in our four-part series, and we have had such a blast doing this. It has been great. We are celebrating our Healthy Kids Inc. 7th anniversary, and as a part of that process, we wanted to make sure that all families were equipped with so much knowledge and information to really just tackle and make the healthy eating process ultra simple. And so throughout the last couple of weeks, we've talked about how to grow your own food, which is a really big trend right now, and for good reason. We've talked also about how to meal plan. We've talked about back to school recipes and the right products to buy at the grocery store. And today, in our fourth and final episode, we are talking about kids' health. So, up to this point, we have covered a lot of tactical ideas. Again, how to get started, how to do meal planning, how to get ready for back to school. And today is completely different. Today is a lot more high level, and it's 100% inspiration for your journey ahead. So if you find yourself frustrated at times with, you're just not really, your family doesn't, they're not, the healthy eating process just isn't where you would like it to be, then you're in the right place because today is going to tackle all of that. So this is really our most heartfelt webinar because this is a culmination of our last 7 years of working with families and also working with kids of all ages, from preschool all the way up to high school and beyond. And so this is, we get to see it from multiple angles. We've also created the meal planning tools, so we get to see it from the technology side. But also this is a culmination of our experience as a family too over the last 7 years, because we started Healthy Kids Inc. really wanting to embark on a healthier lifestyle, and we didn't know how to do it. And so we've taken our whole family along on this ride, and it has been full of ups and downs and twists and turns. And so much of what we share too is also about that process. Every day we still tackle that as a family and really trying to make that transition and to work with our kids, because I can tell you for sure that life for my kids would probably be a little simpler for them with their friends if they just took Little Debbie snack cakes to school every day. At least that's what they think, because they have just as many questions from friends about, well, why do you bring this and why do you bring that? And why do you eat the way that you do? So it is certainly, it's a constant uphill battle that we're always really working on, being on the other end of the continuum of the progression. So we're going to talk about all of that today. But first, I'd like to talk a little bit about us and background on Healthy Kids Inc. So as I mentioned, we started Healthy Kids Inc. 7 years ago because we wanted to transition to healthier foods, and we didn't know what that looked like. So we created the meal planning tool, and the meal planning tool has been an evolution, and there have been many technology iterations. But today, the meal planning tool helps families to meal plan, cook, and also to grow the foods featured in their favorite recipes. So all of our meals also come with a chef's how-to cooking video, because we wanted to be able to tackle everything that got in the way of families being able to live a healthier life. And so those obstacles are always time. So we created the meal planning technology that would allow families to meal plan in minutes instead of hours. We created the shopping list so that your time in the grocery store could be really quick. In fact, you can now just meal plan and order online without even having to go to the grocery store now. So that's really even cut down even more time in the process. Then we added the prep tips that help to really cut the cooking time down, the chef's cooking video, which makes it easy for anyone now, even kids, to now cook along, and that now the growing features so you can make sure that your foods are of the utmost nutrients and health for your family. So that was our progression, but it certainly didn't start that way, because we were very busy family with 2 young kids. And, part of this just came because we were tired of eating donuts and coffee for breakfast and McDonald's for lunch and pizza for dinner. We just felt like it was time for us to move away from that. So throughout our process, we began to work with parents, we began to work with kids of all ages. And so much of this is again, just our journey over this last 7 years. So I'll talk a little bit about what we've seen and what seems to really be the common trend that we see from both parents and children. And what we often see with parents is, and I was very much the same way too, early on when our kids are younger or we're just having kids, we're very focused on healthy eating. We say, when I have kids, my kids are going to start eating avocado. That's going to be the first thing that they eat, and that everything is going to be fresh foods, and I'm going to puree everything. And we are so focused and ready and excited for that healthy eating journey. And so if you see kind of the ramp up, this is us. And this is us on the healthy eating journey. And we're just so, so excited about it. And then the struggle becomes real. It becomes real for many, many years. And then what we often see over time is that we as parents just kind of start to give up a little bit on it. We just start to get really busy. We just stop focusing on the healthier dinners. We stop worrying about the struggle anymore. We just start to kind of move away from the healthy focus. And in many cases, that means moving away from our own health and our own focus around that. So this is what we start to see. We see the parents that go up, and get super excited, and then it just starts to kind of dwindle. And the whole time, this is what's happening with our children. So the whole time that we are so excited about health and we love it and we have all these dreams and these big goals, our children are showing no emotion, maybe even a little resistance to what we're doing. They just have zero interest. They don't get it. And then it seems like sometime around, this is our experience in working with kids at least, is that we start to see around middle school and high school that it's almost like that light bulb starts to come on. The light bulb starts to come on and they start to get a little bit more excited about it. They start thinking a little bit more about healthy foods. And there are many reasons why this happens, but that's about the time that it starts. So the unfortunate part is by that time, usually the parents have started to kind of dip and we're like, oh, I'm so over it. I'm so over it. I'm just done. And so now what we often see is the children having to get the parents back on board again because the parents are said, I'm done. I already went through this process and it was a battle and a struggle and I'm not doing it again. And so often what we see in working with, teens and those in middle school and high school is now they're really trying to help to get the parents back on board and to really get them to fall in love with healthy eating again. So it's interesting to see how it all has changed. So if you have young kids and you feel like, wow, the struggle is real and you can relate to that, please just rest easy knowing that it actually does get better. And we see this across the board. All demographics, we see this. And even locations where, they don't have as much access even to healthy foods, we're starting to see that real interest in it. So that's exciting and that's really encouraging. So today, what I'm going to share with you though is how do we though start to get our family in the flow? And how do we start to align? Because wouldn't it be great if we had the kids on board when we were super excited? And, what if we as the parents were on board when our children were really excited about it? How can we start to align? Because when we start to align, that's when we get in this flow stage. And that's where the magic happens. That's where there is no longer resistance. And that is key. So what we're going to give you today are our top 4 tips for getting into the flow stage with your family and their health. And some of this might be a little bit surprising to you. So the very first one is that really, when we peel back the onion, truly talking about kids' health has as much to do with your health as their health. It has as much to do with our health as the mom, the dad, the caregiver, the parent, as it does their health. Because here's what the reality is. We all want to impact and have an impact on our family. We all want that. We all want to impact our children. That's one of our biggest things that we are here to do is to impact our children. But the truth is that we can't change another person. We can't change our kids. We can't change our spouse. We can't change our parents. We may try to change them, but in trying, that's generally when we create the resistance. And so if you've been down that road, and I have my hand raised super high because I have been down that road trying to force and effort the change for our family, you just create the resistance because that's not what they want. So oftentimes when that doesn't work, we resort to tactic number 2, which is we try to motivate with fear. And so motivating with fear says, if you eat this, then you'll get fat. And we say different things like that. And that, of course, doesn't work at all because then our kids start to develop an unhealthy relationship with food. So when it's all this fear mongering, and there is so much fear mongering in the world right now, there's so much fear around foods. And I have to be very careful about that too in the work that we do, because certainly there are a lot of foods that are not good at all for our body. But we know, though, that when we try to motivate someone with fear, it's not sustainable. Sure, it might work in the long term and they might not eat it in the short run, but it's not a sustainable approach. So, what works then? I mean, how do we really start to invoke change amongst our family? Well, it starts with us, and it has to be from us. And our role is to inspire our kids and really just lead the way for them, for us to focus on our health and let that be an inspiration for them. We always say the word be a way shower, not a way teller. You see families who are saying to their children, I need you eat healthy, eat better, change the way that you eat. But if the parents aren't doing it themselves, then that's being a way teller. So we're saying be a way shower and inspire them with what you're doing. And it starts with you. Because the worst thing that we can do, and I see this happen an awful lot, where, we want to wait for everyone to get excited and for everyone to be on board with healthy eating before we make this transition. But that's not what we need to do. We need to take our own health by the horns, focus on that, and that's going to inspire them. And they're going to start to look at you and they're going to say, wow, I mean, look at mom. Mom's eating all these vegetables. She's never getting sick. Look at what she's doing. And then they start to get excited. One of the things that I love to see, I love to watch Facebook because I love to see, those folks who are joining a health program. And it doesn't matter what health program it is, any health program. And I can honestly say that I haven't done any of the health programs, so I'm indifferent on their long-term impact. But here's what I love about seeing families, about seeing moms or dads who go into those programs. They get so excited and they have so much joy and they have so much excitement. And that is what's exciting because that's what we want our kids to see. We want to hold on to that feeling because that's what inspires your kids to start to want to follow in your footsteps. It's that part of it. And it's okay if you don't do that program forever. That's all right because you're exploring and you're interested in health. And that's what is real. That's what this whole journey is about. I have a friend who is in her 50s and she was struggling with her health for many, many years, was on a number of medications for it. And she started reading about organic foods and the impact that they have on your body and about GMOs. And so she reached out and said, oh my gosh, I'm going to now transition to this all organic food and GMO diet. And she was so excited about it and was seeing some really great benefits. And I love watching her story unfold and she shares posts about it. And just last week, a couple of weeks ago, she was starting to juice. She was juicing some vegetables to make sure she was getting some nutrients, extra nutrients. She was transitioning to all the organic foods. And now this week, she is drinking wheatgrass, which is incredibly healthy. But who would have ever thought? And that's an extreme progression, but she's exploring and she's having so much fun and she's spreading all of that to others. She's not, encouraging other people to join she's just sharing her light and her excitement with others. And that's what we're talking about. And that's the fun part. And then, so what you often see then is because the mom is a part of this health program or whatever, she's now eating healthy or whatever that she's transitioned to, now the kids start to get on board and they're super excited about it. And so that's what it's all about. It's about exploring. I went through a period where probably for about a year or two, I was making my own homemade kombucha, which is a really great probiotic drink. And it took me a long time to get the courage and the guts to do it. I finally did it. I had mastered it. I loved it. And I kept it going for about a year until finally it just didn't really serve me in the health way that I needed. So I stopped making it. But it was so fun because the kids enjoyed being a part of it. They enjoyed something new. It was kind of creepy. It was a great conversation point. Now we explore making sourdough bread. It's all about exploring new foods, new recipes, and just getting curious about it. That's what this is all about. I can tell you on the back end of the young adults and the young teens that we work with, those that have the best relationship with food are the ones that remember, just being exposed to healthier options when they were younger, being exposed to healthier options by their parents. One who comes to mind remembers, oh my gosh, I remember my mom was always making this, or my mom always had a garden, or my dad always had a garden, or my grandparents always had a garden, or my mom would always serve me these brownies made with black beans. I mean, it was just little things like that, but they remember that. And now that they are young adults, they are so open to new foods. They're not intimidated by anything. They're just enjoying the journey. And that is what this is all about. So it's about experimenting, not forcing, not efforting, just experimenting. And remember that this healthy eating is a progression, not a journey. I mean, I think it's amazing to think about, drinking wheatgrass after your first few months in a progression on healthy eating. Again, there's no manual with what to do and what not to do. You just kind of start learning, and you just start to get excited about it, and you just start trying new things. And that is the beauty of that. So, first step then in our biggest insight, our biggest wisdom is that, the journey for kids' health is so much more about your health than their health, because being a way shower is what's going to have the ultimate long-term impact on your family. And being a way shower is just about being open to experimenting and trying new things. There's no right or wrong. It's just about trying new things. And if something no longer serves you, then we move on to the next thing. That's all that we do in this process. All right. So the second thing is to really create a no-fail environment. And I don't know that I love the word no fail, but I think that you understand what I mean. And this is a little bit more tactical in today's presentation, but here's why the environment is so important. And I'll use an example. So in the world of public health, or in the world, even we see this in a myriad of ways, trying to create changes. Let's think, for example, of schools. So how important is the school environment to kids and wanting to create, to lead a healthier lifestyle? So if we're trying to get kids to stop drinking pop, to stop drinking soda, to stop drinking the sugary drinks, but yet the school still has a soda machine there and a juice machine and have access to all of that, well, then it's going to be really hard to create that change because they still have access to it. And so if we removed the soda machines and we only had bottled water and milk, and maybe your school has a free container of water, maybe it's even flavored water with some really nice fruits in it that the kids can just pour their own cup all day long. Don't you think that that would make a difference in kids drinking more water instead of soda? Yes, you're always going to have those kids that would probably bring their own soda from home or from outside of the school. Yes, that's always going to happen. But you are setting the majority of the kids up for success just by changing their environment. And the same is true for your home. We can't buy Twinkies and juice boxes for our house and then ask our kids to drink water and to eat cucumbers after school. Like, it's just not going to work. I mean, they're always going to want those Twinkies. They're always going to want those juice boxes. I remember vividly working with some teens in middle school, and they always at their school lunch got an option. They have, and the day we were there, for example, they had an option of a really wonderful, it was like an orzo pasta dish with some veggies, it was flavored really great, or a corn dog. Well, the kids said, listen, they said, as long as you give me the option of the corn dog, I'm going to take it every time. Of course, I'm going to take it. If you give me the option of chocolate milk, of course, I'm going to take it. So the kids were even saying, stop giving me the option because I'll take it every time. So if they want us to set up their environment to where they can succeed, that's what they're looking for. And I love this quote. A good friend just shared this recently. It says, when a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. How true is that? And that's very evident of what we're seeing. You think about, your garden bed, if you're growing plants, if you're growing vegetables, if your vegetable isn't blooming, well, it's likely it's the environment. It's maybe your soil, it's too wet. It's whatever environmental conditions. Maybe there's pests all around, whatever, but it's the environment. We got to fix the environment. There's nothing wrong with the vegetable itself. It's the environment in which it grows. It is so true for our children. And this is where we can make such a huge impact if we just set their environment up to where they can be successful. And I know what you might be thinking, well, our kids should, all kids need a little treats every now and then. Well, trust me, your kids will get plenty of treats at other places. It's always going to happen. Our role as a parent is just to set up their environment for success. And that means quick, healthy snacks, vegetables, and as much water as they can drink. It doesn't mean putting the cookies on the tippy top shelf so they can't reach them or see them. It just means taking it out of the house and just making sure that everything in the house is set up for their success. And I love to show this picture. I think I've showed this in every webinar that we've had, but this is what we're talking about. If our kids can eat 5 fruits and vegetables a day, that's amazing. That's what we're shooting for. And that's not that hard. So if when they get home from school, we've got a healthy snack out for them. Wow, what a difference that makes. And that's setting your environment up for success. So also what setting their environment up for success also means is possibly a little less rigid of a dinner experience. And so this is probably one of the biggest things that I have changed my tune on over the years. And I've preached it for so many years, especially as a meal planning site, that it's really important that we only serve one dinner. Don't be a short order cook. We're too busy to cook multiple meals for multiple kids. But here's the thing, and this is what I have realized over the years, is that when I was so rigid in the dinner experience and it was one thing only, everybody eats it, that dinner wasn't really a pleasant experience. It wasn't pleasant for the kids. I wasn't making food and the joy of eating food in the dinner time, I wasn't making it a good experience for our family. And that's what we ultimately want, right? We want dinner to be, in many cases, it's rare enough that we get time together. Let's make it a pleasant one. So you know what? Now, today, I have one kid that loves broccoli and I have one kid that loves cucumbers. And so I serve them both. And so oftentimes I'm serving multiple vegetables, way more than what we need, because it's more options. And that's great. I'm not going to get upset because one kid isn't eating broccoli, but he's eating cucumbers. He's still eating a vegetable. Like, that is still perfect. And I'm happy about that. So it's just really about, it's not necessarily being, maybe a slight short order cook, but not too much. We're still eating most of the same meal together. It's just when it comes to the vegetables and what matters most, yeah, I like to make sure that everybody has a little bit of what they like. And that doesn't take much more time out of my night to be able to do it. And it's really important because I feel really good that they all are able to enjoy it. On the other side, if I said, okay, we're only having broccoli tonight, and that's our only vegetable, and everybody has to eat it, and everybody must take one bite of it. Well, that's probably all that they're going to take of a bite of a vegetable that night. So why not add something in there, another vegetable that they do like? So at least I can ensure they're getting more nutrients. So really a little less of a rigid dinner experience is really what I've found starts to work best. And it gets the kids more excited about that dinner time experience. And truly, it is all about exploring in the end and just having fun, letting the kids explore. They feel excited that we have made a special side dish just for them. And they love that. And that's really what it comes down to. All right, so up to this point, the very first one is that we have made sure that kids' health has as much to do with our health as it does their health. And the second one is really making sure that we are creating that no-fail environment, which might also mean then a little less of a rigid dinner experience. Give it a try and just see what type of success that you have with that. Now on to the third item. And this is really very simple, but it's thinking only the best when it comes to our kids' minds and bodies, and not to underestimate them. In our experience over the years, and I have also been in this way too, where I'll give an example. We've done a session where we have made. One time we made veggie burritos for like 1,000 people. We made little samples, taste test samples for 1,000 people, and they had spinach and broccoli and cucumber, or spinach, broccoli, carrot in them, and cauliflower, and they were mixed up into a wrap. And we served these veggie burritos for hours upon hours to kids and their families. And it was so interesting, the dynamic when they came up, because oftentimes it would be the parent who would say, "Oh, I don't think that my kid's going to like it." They usually don't. And then sure enough, the kid would like it. But what we found though is that oftentimes we as parents, we kind of just we put that thought into their head that they're probably not going to like it. Or sometimes we even call them picky eaters and we give them a label. And it just happens. And we don't mean to do it. We don't mean any harm by doing it. But what we find though is that we really just need to think only the best when it comes to their bodies. Because here's the really exciting part about all of this. We have this amazing ability within our bodies to regenerate our cells. It's actually said that your cells regenerate. You almost have a new body every 7 years. For example, your cells regenerate a new liver every 5 months, new lungs every 3 weeks, new stomach lining every couple of days. I mean, your body has this amazing ability to do all of that. But what's even more exciting for all of us is that we get new taste buds every 2 weeks. Our cells are always regenerating and our taste buds are always changing. So that every 2 weeks, you end up with essentially a new set of taste buds. So I find this the most encouraging thing of all of this is that when you feel helpless, as if your kids will never grow to like a vegetable, just have the confidence that they will, that their body is setting them up for success. And now we need to do the same on our end. And tell your kids that their taste buds are constantly changing. And let's see how something tastes today. And that's the great part. There was actually a study that came out about a year or so ago from Dr. Lustig, who is an amazing expert on the impact of sugar on our bodies. And the study said that it was actually a study on children, and it showed that they had just actually removed added sugar from the children's diet. And that was it. I mean, caloric intake was still the same. And that what they showed is that after just removing added sugar from our children's diet, they showed dramatic improvement in their health markers in just 10 days. In just 10 days. So how exciting is that our bodies just have this ability to heal and to bounce back, and that our taste buds are changing. And once you take out the added sugar, your taste buds are going to adjust and start to love other foods and have a taste for those not so sweet foods. We have the ability to do all of that. So this is truly the most exciting part of all of it, is there's just so much hope and there's so much excitement for us just to explore and to just continue to just go down this path and to not give up, because it's a progression. It's always going to change. And again, in 2 weeks from now, you might find that your kids have an interest for something totally different. And the final part of that is helping our kids connect food with how it makes their body feel. And this is, again, just a really great progression in their process. Because if you can help the kids to start to feel, well, okay, was I hungry by the time that school started? Well, if so, okay, then maybe I probably need to change what I'm eating for breakfast. Or if you're tired in the afternoon, or if they find that they're having a hard time focusing, or maybe they had a sports game and they just didn't play their best. They just didn't have a whole lot of strength. I mean, those are all things that you can tie back to foods and the foods that they're eating. And that all ties back into their energy. So when we can start to connect foods with how their body feels and get them thinking about it from that perspective, well, that's another really great way to get kids on board with their health. And it's a completely different feeling. Today, for example, I didn't eat that much at all until about noon. And I could certainly feel that in my body. I mean, I could feel that I was starting to get fatigued and I wasn't having that energy. So I knew it was time that I needed to break away and really change that. And so it's okay. I mean, there's nothing, it's not that we have any type of guilt over it. It's just we now know and we readjust. And it's the same with our kids too. Okay, so we didn't play so good in that game. And now we know why. I didn't really fuel myself up the way that I probably could have. So next time I'm going to just try and do better. That's all that this is. But it is starting to help kids with that connection of how the foods they eat impact their bodies, which really leads us into the fourth and final one. So just to recap, our three so far is number one is our health is just as important as our kids' health in this journey, because you are a leader, you are a way shower, and they're going to take their inspiration from you. The second thing is to make sure that we are setting up their environment for success. And their environment is the home environment. So making sure that it is set up to where it has access to healthy snacks and that they feel like they can succeed and it's giving them everything they need in that environment. And the third thing is to only think the best when it comes to our kids' bodies and their minds. And so remembering that their taste buds are going to be changing every 2 weeks. So that's exciting. That gives us all hope that things are changing. And also just helping them to connect their body with the foods that they're eating and starting to really feel, what's happening from the foods that they're eating, because then that starts to create that sustainable change. Then they're always going to want to eat healthier foods because, oh yeah, I did really good on that test because I ate, this for breakfast. So I want to make sure that I keep that going. That's going to help to build their buy-in and their beliefs. And the fourth and final thing, and this is really, really important, and it's and it doesn't take very long for us to go over, but it's that we as parents oftentimes feel this guilt. We feel sometimes like it's our fault. We feel this shame that things just aren't the way we'd like for them to be in our family. And that's what we've got to remove. We've just got to remove the guilt and the blame and the shame. And just remember that this is all a journey. Our bodies are energy, and the foods that we put in them help to give us energy. The foods themselves are energy. Some foods just provide more energy than others. There's nothing wrong. So if there are days where we just don't eat as good as we would like, that's all right. We always have another day to adjust. Everything we consume is energy. So the foods off the shelf, they still have energy, just not the greatest form of energy available. So remove the guilt, remove the shame, because that is one of the heaviest emotions that we have, is that shame. And that shame tells us that it's our fault. It's our fault that our kids aren't healthy. It's our fault that our kids aren't eating better. It's our fault. And we've really got to just remove that and just realize this is all a progression. We're all kind of going through this and that it is going to change. And now we know that there are some small little things that we can do that make a really big, big difference with kids' health. And I love this quote from Maya Angelou, and I say this often, but it's once we know better, then we do better. And so it's just about exploring health and getting excited about it and just starting to be that inspiration for the rest of our family. And you might feel like you are that one person, that only person who even cares about it in the family, and you very well might be. And it might be that way for a little while, but you'll eventually find that everyone else will get on board too. It's inevitable that it will happen. So, as a recap, again, the four things that we talk about when it comes to kids' health. The first one is remember that kids' health is as much about your health as it is their health. So be a way shower, not the way teller. Be that inspiration for them. Number two was to create that no-fail environment. Remember, as we said, we talked about the school and the pop machines and, create your environment at home. That's the one place where it can be a no-fail environment. Create an environment at home where they have access to all of those healthy things that are going to nourish their body. Number three is think only the best about kids' mind and body. Remember, just think positive about it. I know we get frustrated sometimes that we have, these picky tendencies, and sometimes these picky tendencies are with our adult spouses, whatever it might be too. And we sometimes get frustrated with that. But just remember that, again, our taste buds are changing every 2 weeks. So the more we start to transition away from maybe some of the sweet foods, from some of the other processed foods, you're probably going to find that their taste buds start to adjust and they start to get to like it. It just becomes a little bit of a progression. So give it a little bit of time, but don't give up. Keep on trying. And the fourth one is remember that food is energy. All foods serve our body. There's no shame, there's no blame, there's no guilt. We're all doing the best that we absolutely can. Let's just focus on the foods that can provide our bodies with the most energy. And remember, once we know better, then we do better. And so truly that is it when it comes to kids' health. And we could certainly go into a lot more detail about what to eat, what not to eat, all those types of things. But as I mentioned, this is less tactical and this is more inspirational. This is much more high level today that we're talking about. And once you get this and start to kind of work this, you're going to start to see that you become in more alignment. You're more aligned with your children. And this journey toward healthy eating is full of less resistance. You're in the flow. It all just works. And it's so much easier. I'll show you this very quick video that we created that kind of just recaps a lot of what we're talking about and a little bit more. So that takes care of everything for kids' health. We hope that you have enjoyed this and found this inspirational. If you are looking for more tactical how-to ideas, then be sure to check out our previous webinars. Our first one was how to grow your own food, and we show you exactly how to do that. Using the Healthy Kids Inc. meal planning tool, you can make this super easy. We also tackled back to school breakfast and lunch, and this is where we got into a very deep dive about all of the different products, the best products to buy, the ones to steer clear from. If you're looking for small changes that you can make with your family, this for sure is the webinar to watch. And then finally, we talked about meal planning and how to make meal planning really quick and easy and effortless, and how to get the family involved, and really how to turn this dreaded process, that can sometimes even take as much as 2 hours when you count your grocery shopping. You can really cut this down into about 15 minutes. And that's what we're all looking for. Ways that we can add a little more time or at least spend our time in some different ways. So that takes care of everything. We hope that you have enjoyed this. If you are not a part of our Healthy Kids Inc. community, we encourage you to check us out at healthykidsinc.com. And then again, be sure to check out the previous webinars for some more information. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for all that you're doing, and we cannot wait to talk to you again real soon. Take care.